Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to another installment of Israel Evolves. And we're going to go into the history today of Nicanor and Pura. So, Brother Juan, get 2 Timothy chapter 1 and read verse 3 and 7.
I thank God, whom I serve from my forefathers with pure conscience, that without ceasing I have remembrance of thee in thy prayers night and day.
That's 7. You got 7?
For God hath not given us the spirit of fear.
So he didn't start right there. So he didn't give us what?
The spirit of fear.
The spirit of fear. He did not give us the spirit of fear. Read.
But of power and of love and of a sound mind.
That's right. The Most High gave us the power of, he didn't give us a spirit of fear, meaning that when we face up against our adversaries, whoever they may be, he didn't put a fearful heart in us to not be able to stand up to our enemies, not be able to stand up to wicked Israelites. Today's lesson is going to touch on all of that, what the heathens done and what our own people have done. And with this, we're going to be able to not only bring the history,
all participants are muted,
and get the understanding of the day that we actually keep it and what happened. So now we're ready to go into the history. So, Brother Juan, let's get First Maccabees, chapter 7. And start at verse 1.
First Maccabees, chapter 7, verse 1. In the 115th year, Demetrius, the son of Seleucus, departed from Rome, and came up with a few men unto a city of the sea coast, and reigned there. And as he entered into the palace of his ancestors, so it was that his forces had taken Antiochus and Lysias to bring them unto him.
So start right there. So right now what we're reading about the Greeks and them at this time, trying to gain a stronghold in Israel. This is what they're trying to do. They conquered so many other nations. Now they're coming up against the Israelites. And now they're trying to gain a stronghold. And this is the story, this is the true story about what happened when they tried to do this. So Antiochus, was one of the kings that came up after Alexander the Great, after the four kings that came from Alexander the Great. And then came up Antiochus, and there was a few Antiochus that came up. His sons and his sons' sons. Read.
Wherefore, when he knew it, he said, Let me not see their faces. So his host slew them. Now when Demetrius was set upon the throne of his kingdom, there came unto him all the wicked and godly men of Israel.
So start right there. In verse 5, when he said, there came unto him all the wicked and ungodly men of Israel. So right there is telling you it's our own people. It's our own people that's about to bring drama. Because in the beginning, when you started reading and we started going into this history telling you when the time frame was, now we're about to see it's our own people that brought about this demise. along with the heathen. Read.
Having Alcimus, who was desirous to be high priest for the captains.
So now you see what it's all about. And ain't this no different than Negroes out here today. You know what I'm saying? You're willing to kill your brother out there so you can take his place, whatever position he holds. This man here, Alchemist, he wanted to be the high priest. You see, he wanted to be the high priest, and he was going to do whatever it took for him to gain a position. You see what I'm saying? A position of rank. That's what it's all about. That's what he wanted. A position of rank. You willing to kill your own brothers and sisters just so you can have, so you can say that I am the high priest? Read.
And they accused the people of the king, saying, Judas and his brethren have slain all thy friends and driven us out of our own land.
So now, this is Judas Maccabees that is speaking of, saying that now what he's trying to do is turn the people against Judas Maccabees. And Judas Maccabees, you know, is a hero, and definitely got down. He didn't play. This brother put work in. Okay? Read.
Now therefore send some men whom thou trustest, and let him go and see what havoc he hath made among us, and in the king's land, and let him punish them with all them that aid them.
Mm-hmm.
Then the king chose Bacchides, a friend of the king, who ruled beyond the flood, and was a great man in the kingdom, and faithful to the king.
Mm-hmm.
And him he sent with the wicked Alchemist, whom he made high priest, and commanded that he should take vengeance of all the children of Israel.
So he's going to take vengeance against who?
The children of Israel.
Against the children of Israel. So this man, Alchemist, he wanted to be the high priest. He got the people, he's trying to convince the people that Judas, Maccabees, mean them no good. Okay? And now he's going to become confederate with the heathen so that he can get the place that he wants. It's no different than when you see these coons out here today. These politicians, you see what I'm saying? They tell the people everything that they want to hear so they could get in the office. But they ain't there to help us. They're not helping us. All they care about is their little paycheck. You know, I know everybody loves President Obama. Everybody loves him to death. But what did the president do for us? What did he do for our people? Well, I'll tell you what he did. He empowered the LBGT community, or whatever you call them. And their movement is stronger than the fact of us getting equal rights as Negroes in this land. He cared more about that situation than he did about us, about his wife people. Because he ain't us. He cared more about his white. He didn't give a doggone about his white people. All he cared about was keeping everybody happy to get votes. First he was against the whole thing. Then he had a change of heart because he needed them votes his second term. Read.
So they departed and came with a great power into the land of Judea, where they sent messengers of Judas and his brethren with peaceable words deceitfully.
So stop right there. So now they departed and they came into the land that's called Canaan. And they came into what Judea is Judah. That's the land of Judah. So like, say for instance, like we got Philly or we got Brooklyn. You got different parts of the city. This is where they came. Brooklyn or Philadelphia be the city, but the different sections of the city is the same way Judah was broken up. Okay, so so they came there to get Judas, to bring him act like they was being their friends, but yet they was going to be bringing deceitfulness. when you being deceitful, that means that you're gonna tell me what I want to hear, but in your whole mind sight is to destroy me. You know, read.
But they gave no heed to their words, for they saw that they were coming with a great power.
So start right there. So Judas, which is a smart man of the Most High, he saw that they was bringing drama. He said, I'm gonna make them think that, they got one over on us. That they're gonna get one up, but I'm gonna show them better than I could tell them. Read.
Then did there assemble unto alchemists and Maccabees a company of scribes to require justice. Now the Assassins were the first among the children of Israel that sought peace of them.
So stop right there. So the Assyrians, what you got to understand about the Assyrians, you see how we are called here African Americans. We Israelites, but they call us African Americans or whatever. That's not a nationality. The same way right here we seeing now the Assyrians were the first among the children of Israel, meaning that they were the children of Israel, but they were known as the Assyrians. Why? Because we were now under the Greeks, and we had Greek names, you know what I'm saying, to determine who we were. Read.
For said they, one that is a priest of the seed of Aaron is come with this army, and he will do us no wrong. So he spake unto them peaceably, and sware unto them, saying, we will procure the harm neither for you nor your friends. Mm-hmm. Whereupon they believed him. Howbeit he took of them 80 men, and slew them in one day.
So start right there. So whereupon they believe him, howbeit, saying, but they did this anyway, howbeit, he took them 80 men. 80 men is a score equals 20. So that's 60 men they killed. You see what I'm saying? So 80 men and slew them in one day. Go ahead, read.
According to the words which he wrote.
Mm-hmm.
The flesh of thy saints had they cast out, and their blood had they shed round about Jerusalem, and there was none to bury them.
So stop right there. So now the Lord, the capital of Canaan was Jerusalem, and the capital of Judah is also Jerusalem. Okay, so that you understand that. All right, read.
Wherefore the fear and dread of them fell upon all the people, who said, there is neither truth nor righteousness in them, for they have broken the covenant and oath that they made.
Mm-hmm. So the covenant that they made, that they wasn't going to do, that they wasn't going to bring no harm, right? Yep. They had a priest with them of the seed of Aaron, meaning that they had they had a Levite with them. You see what I'm saying? That was of the bloodline of Aaron. To try to Al Sharpton us. That's what they basically doing. They bought. That's what this dude's supposed to represent. Al Sharpton come to us like he one of us, and he with our fight and our struggle. But at the end of the day, he helping them get to us. You see what I'm saying? So that's what they try to do right here. So go ahead, read.
After this, removed Maccabees from Jerusalem, and pitched his tents in Bezeth, where he sent and took many of the men that had forsaken him, mm-hmm. and certain of the people also. And when he had slain them, he cast them into the great pit. Then committed he the country of alchemists, and left with him a power to aid him. So Maccabees went to the king.
So start right there. So now after them kill up our people, they put alchemists in power. You see that? Then they left a contingency force back with alchemists to protect him so that we can take it back. Mm-hmm. You understand? That's what they were doing. So this is I'm going to tell you, the truth of it is, we know the heathen We know that Esau, we know that Moab, Ammonites, these African tribes, we know that they're the worst thing for our people. You understand? But the worst enemy of Israel is Israel.
Yep.
Is other Israelites. Because these other nations will have no power over us to do whatever they doing to us if they don't get the help that they get from wicked Israelites that we read in the beginning. It's our own people that do this to us. Why? Because of covetousness. That's why this man, and he did this because he wanted to be the high priest. And he didn't give a damn about how many of us he killed to get what he wanted. Go ahead, read, brother.
But Alchemists contended for the high priesthood, and unto him resorted all such as troubled the people, who, after they had gotten the land of Judah into their power, did much hurt in Israel.
So much people hurt in Israel. Go ahead, read.
Now when Judas saw all the mischief that Alchemist and his company had done among the Israelites, even above the heathen.
So stop right there. Now, Judas saw all the mischief that Alchemist and his company had done among all the who?
The Israelites.
The Israelites. Did he do this against any other nation?
No.
This is the Israelites. All right? Everything that we deal with in this scripture is about the Israelites. For the Israelites. Pertaining only to the Israelites. No other nation at no other time. So now he saw what happened, and he said, after that right there where it says among the Israelites, brother, read that part again after that.
Even above the heathen.
Do you understand what he just said? He said that what Alchemist and his company did to the Israelites is worse than what the heathen did to us. You understand what he's saying?
Yep.
So you got to understand the reason why the Lord got to put 2/3 of Israel to death. 2/3 of our people, which is over half, it just ain't gonna never get it right. They gotta go. Go ahead, read, brother.
He went out into all the coasts of Judea round about, and took vengeance on them that had revolted from him, so that they durst no more go forth into the country. On the other side, when Alchemist saw that Judas and his company had gotten the upper hand, and knew that he was not able to abide their force, he went again to the king and said the worst of them that he could.
So Judas rounded up his crew, a bunch of real brothers. That's what he did. That's what he rounded up a bunch of real brothers and sisters, and he went to Alchemist and he bust they behind. He tore, and everybody that was dealing with them, he tore them out the frame. You understand? He didn't just beat them up. You see what I'm saying? He killed these wicked Negroes. You see what I'm saying? They had to go. They had to go. See, we running around out here killing each other for blocks. You know what I'm saying? For corners, and you don't even own the damn city. You don't even own the little town that you in. You see what I'm saying? And you killing each other over blocks. And here these cats warring over nations. But our people, like Judas Maccabees, our heroes, they stood up against these wicked Negroes that did this, all for power, and tore their behinds out the frame. Go ahead, read, brother.
Then the king sent Nicanor. Then the king sent Nicanor, one of his honorable princes, a man that bare deadly hate unto Israel.
So stop right there. Now, before, when the brother read, and he said, again the king said all the worst of them that he could, meaning that he spoke after he realized he wasn't going to be able to deal with Judas, right? He said all the worst things that he could. now he lying about the man, trying to make it embellish the truth. I mean, embellish a lie to make Judas way worse than what actually took place, so that now they could get this monster, Nicanor. You see what I'm saying? That's what that was about. So he got Nicanor, right? And Nicanor was an honorable prince unto the king, but he hated the Israelites. You understand? He hated us. So go ahead, read in verse 26.
Then the king sent Nicanor, one of the honorable princes, a man that bare deadly hate unto Israel, with commandment to destroy the people.
So he had a commandment to destroy the people of Israel. That's what he wanted to do. That was his whole thing. So go ahead, read verse 27, and we're going to jump over to 2 Maccabees.
So Nicanor came to Jerusalem with a great force, and sent unto Judas and his brethren deceitfully with friendly words, saying,
Go ahead, read that.
Let there be no battle between me and you. I will come with a few men that I may see you in peace.
Okay, so now you see Nicanor, he tried to pull something slick. He figured that he going to come, his whole thing was come get Judas, right? So he figured he going to tell him what he wanted to hear so he could get close. But he came with a whole bunch of men and said that he coming with a few men. So he was hiding some of his people so he can do what he had to do. So let's go to 2 Maccabees. And start at verse, chapter 14, start at verse 3. Because verse 1 and 2 is what we already read that in chapter 7. So, the scriptures, precept must be upon precept. What is now you're about to see more detail about what took place. So go ahead, start at verse 3.
2 Maccabees, chapter 14, verse 3. Now one alchemist, who had been high priest and had defiled himself willfully in the times of their mingling with the Gentiles, seeing that by no means he could save himself, nor have any more access to the holy altar.
Read verse 6, yeah.
Those of the Jews that he called Assyrians, whose captain of Judas, Maccabees, nourish war and are insidious, and will not let the rest be in peace.
Right. So what Alchemist is saying is the Assyrians, which are the Jews, they would never be in peace. Those alchemists and his company would never be in peace as long as Judas is alive. That's what he's saying. Okay. Go ahead.
Verse 7.
Yeah, go ahead, read.
Therefore, I being deprived of mine ancestors' honor, I mean the high priesthood, am now come hither. First, verily, for the unfeigned care I have of things pertaining to the king, and secondly, even for that I intend good of mine own countrymen. For all our nation is in no small misery through the unadvised dealing of them aforesaid. Wherefore, O king, seeing knowest all these things, be careful for the country and our nation, which is pressed on every side, according to the clemency that thou readily shewest unto all. For as long as Judas liveth, it is not possible that the state should be quiet.
So stop right there. So now this Negro here, he talking about he doing all of this for us. How you doing all this for us? And look how you went about it. You sold your own people out so that you can become the high priest. You doing this for yourself. You ain't doing it for the nation. And the people, the gullible behind, is falling for the dumbness. No different than our people running around here falling for Christianity, falling for Islam, falling for Egyptology. But none of that stuff, none of the things that you dealing with these people and their doctrines and whatever they bring forth, none of it can lead you back to the history of yourself. None of it. And here he's talking about he's in the beginning when he's talking about his ancestors and that he was doing all of this for the people to put himself in the rightful place. But yet you killing your own brethren to do it. There ain't nothing good about that at all. Because these not wicked men that you killed. You the wicked man. You was killing the great men. Go ahead, read.
Verse 11. This was no sooner spoken of him, but others of the king's friends, being maliciously set up against Judas, did more incense Demetrius.
Yes, so that's the whole point. His whole agenda was to get Judas out of the way, and this is going to serve Demetrius and alchemists. This is going to serve all of them, all of these Greeks and these wicked Israelites. Why are we there? Hold what you got. Go to First Maccabees. Wow, this thing on my mind right now. Go to First Maccabees. Chapter 1. And I want you to read verse to show you how long this thing was going on. Read verse 10 and 11. Because these are the same people, same type people that was doing what they're doing, what we're reading right now. So go ahead, read First Maccabees chapter 1, read verse 10 and 11.
And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes.
So stop right there. So you remember we was talking earlier about Antiochus?
Yeah.
This Greek, right? And you remember when we went into the 7th chapter of First Maccabees, and was talking about how this king that came up out of Antiochus that came up against the Jews.
Yeah.
All right. So right here now we're going to read the history. Now, when we say in today's English, I had an epiphany. You see what I'm saying? You heard that before? I had an epiphany. That name came from this man's surname when it said epiphany. Epiphany means that you had a vision of something. You see what I'm saying? But what it means, his surname means God manifests on earth. So what he's saying is he's a God that's manifested on earth. You see what I'm saying? That's what Epiphanes mean. His name is Antiochus, surname Epiphanes, his last name. Okay? And then he was the son of Antiochus the king. Because you remember I was saying that they had the Antiochus and then his sons. And then all the sons that came after that Antiochus will be the next Antiochus. You understand? Whether it be the first or the second or the third or whatever the case may be. Go ahead, read.
Who had been a hostage at Rome.
So the Romans, when the Romans came in and bust off in the Greeks behind, right? Saying that he was a hostage of Rome. It don't mean that they took him and they had him like he was a real hostage. They took him and they used him to run Judea. You understand? They made him the governor of Judea. That's why you had of his line, you had them fake Jewish people. That was them. This is the line they came from. You see what I'm saying? Go ahead, read.
And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men.
What went out of Israel?
Wicked men.
Wicked men. Go ahead, read.
Who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen.
What they do?
Made a covenant with the heathen.
They made an agreement with the heathen against their own people. Go ahead, read that.
That are round about us.
That's surrounding us. Go ahead.
For since we departed from them, we have had so much sorrow.
So he's saying, let's go make a covenant with the heathen that round about us, that surrounded us. Because since we departed, we had nothing but trouble. So what they in their mind is, let's join with the heathen, then we have no more problems.
Mm-hmm.
Is that not what's happening right now today?
So if you can't beat them, join them.
Exactly. Is that not what our people doing today?
Yeah.
Why you think so many of our people do? You know how many arguments that we may get into? You talk to a heathen about our history, a heathen hardly ever debates you on your history. They hear what you're saying, and they actually be in agreement. You do that same thing to your own people.
Ready to fight.
Oh man, they ready to fight, curse you out, talk about you like a dog. You see what I'm saying? And then here it is. They made confederacy with the heathen around about them, so they figure they're gonna have a better life.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? They figure they're gonna have a better life by doing so. Who did that? Didn't Dr. King do that?
Yep.
Didn't he make a covenant with Esau?
Yes, he did.
And they tore our behinds out of the frame even worse. And by the time he figured out what they done, they killed him. He figured out what the trick bag that they put him in '68. And then he come with this speech talking about what'd he say? I led my people into a burning house. You see what I'm saying? After the damage was done. The damage was done when he did what he did. Then he realized it, and it was nothing he could do to reverse it. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And Malcolm was trying to tell him all along. We need to focus on us. And the same thing they're doing to us, we got to do to them. We just got to be more diplomatic about it, how we do it. You know, that brother was a very eloquent and critical thinker, Malcolm X. You see what I'm saying? He was a critical thinker. So was Stucky Carmichael and Mega Effers. They were critical thinkers. But Dr. King, he really thought the same people that oppress you is going to be the same people that's going to save you. Man, is you crazy? Is you crazy? They've been tearing our behinds out of the frame since we came to these shores. What make you think they're going to marching up and down is going to change anything? Then what happened? We lose all our businesses, and they still beating us in the head with billy clubs and fire hoses and whatever. Whatever. You know, I posted today, and I'm going to get back in these script. I posted today a video about Philly, the parade for the Super Bowl. Yo, they tore Philadelphia up, flipping cars over, you know what I'm saying, busting in convenience store windows and all of that kind of stuff like that. But they was all Edomites doing this. What they said? I mean, the police was helping them and giving them high five and all of that. Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
The police was giving them the high five and all that while they tearing up Philadelphia. And you know what the people say on the news? That it was just a friendly, enthusiastic fans. But here we getting shot down in the streets, murdered and killed. We out there marching and protesting about you killing us like dogs in the street. Mm-hmm. We a bunch of terrorists now. We are terrorists. We angry and tearing up stuff or whatever the case may be because you out here killing us. We ain't friendly. Here we fighting for our damn natural right to do, just live. And here they tearing up the whole city, flipping over cars and everything. And they just friendly enthusiastic fans.
It's okay when they want us, when they want them to have.
Yeah, it's okay for them to tear it up. You know what I'm saying?
But I can't get pulled over in my car
and tell you I got a gun, and tell you I got a gun, and still get killed. You know what I'm saying? This is crazy, man. So let's go back to Second Maccabees, chapter 14. And I believe we left off at verse 11.
This was no sooner spoken of him, but others of the king's friends, being maliciously set up against Judas, did more incense Demetrius.
Mm-hmm.
And forthwith, calling Nicanor, who had been master of the elephants, and making him governor over Judea, he sent him forth.
Mm-hmm. So you see a little bit of this, and you're gonna see how this tied in to Esther. You know, when we go into that. If we get enough time, we may have to do it next week, Lord's will. But our forefather Hannibal was also an expert with the elephants when he went across the Alps, which is in Italy. Right here, you see where it's talking about Nicanor. This is an Indian, these East Indians, which are Elam. This is their custom, what they do. Mm-hmm. Are they not still, with those people today, still worship the elephant? You know what I'm talking about? The East Indian people? Mm-hmm. The ones that do the 7-Elevens and all of that kind of stuff like that? Mm-hmm. They worship the elephant, the cow and all of that. You see them how they all have them all decorated and dressed up or whatever. See, this is all their history. You see what I'm saying? This is all their heritage that they never left. Mm-hmm. They doing right here. We reading in the scriptures. This is how we know this is a true book. All the other bull crap that these people out here talking about, I'm talking about Egyptology and all of that nonsense or whatever, ain't got nothing to do with us. This got everything to do with us. Mm-hmm. Because we could prove this is us. But go ahead, read.
Commanding him to slay Judas and to scatter them that were...
Hold on. Yeah. You good.
And to scatter them that were with him, and to make alchemists high priests of the great temple.
So now, Nicanor was going to come, kill Judas, and kill everybody that was down with Judas, Maccabees, right? And then they was going to make alchemists their governor of the high priest of our temple. Because basically what it was going to happen was alchemists was going to be working with the Greeks. Mm-hmm. and these Babylonians. That was the plan. But go ahead, read.
Then the heathen that had fled out of Judea from Judas came to Nicanor by flocks, thinking the harm and calamities of the Jews to be their welfare. Mm-hmm. Now when the Jews heard of Nicanor's coming, and that the heathen were up against them, they cast earth upon their heads, and made supplications to him that had established his people forever, and who always helpeth his portion with manifestation of his presence.
So now our people is going to the Lord. All right? They cast the earth upon their heads, and now we ready to go into the prayer closet. And we ready to call out the big guns now. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, read.
So at the commandment of the captains, they removed stairways from thence. Straightways from thence, and came near unto them at town of Desau. Simon, Judas' brother, had battled with Nicanor, but was somewhat discomfited through the sudden silence of his enemies. Nevertheless, Nicanor, hearing of the manliness of them that were with Judas, and the courageousness that they had to fight for their country, durst not try the matter by the sword.
Mm-hmm. So they wasn't... Pretty much what it's saying is Judas and Simon Maccabees, right? They knew that they was coming up against a pretty... fair amount army, a big army. They knew they was dealing with, they wasn't dealing with no slouches, right? So they wasn't gonna do no idiotic move and just roll up on these cats and not be ready for them. Mm-hmm. So they had to go and rethink the strategy of what they were going to do so that they could conquer them. That was the whole point. He's doing what he's doing. Showing you our people, they were critical thinkers. We need to get back into that. Some of us out here are like this still. You know what I'm saying? But it's a whole lot more of us that's nowhere near that stage is what's keeping us down. You see what I'm saying? But go ahead, read.
Wherefore he sent Posidonius and Theodius
Go ahead. Go ahead.
and Mattathias to make peace.
Uh-huh.
So when they had taken long advisement thereupon, and the captain had made the multitude acquainted therewith, and it appeared that they were all of one mind, they consented to the covenants,
Mm-hmm.
and appointed a day to meet in together by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And when the day came, and stools were set for either of them, Judas placed armed men ready in convenient places, lest some treachery should be suddenly practiced by the enemies.
Right. So Judas set up a meeting and with his people, and then he set it up where if they come to try to surprise us, we'd be ready for them. Go ahead.
So they made a peaceable conference. Now Nicanor abode in Jerusalem,
Mm-hmm. So he was staying in Jerusalem. Go ahead.
and did not hurt, but sent away the people that came flocking unto him.
Mm-hmm.
And he would not willingly have Judas out of his sight, for he loved the man from his heart.
So you see, he wouldn't let Judas out of his sight, because this dude, in actuality, he feared him. He already saw what he could do. He feared this man, and he seen everybody that was rolling with Judas wasn't no punks. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Go ahead, read.
And he prayed him also to take a wife,
Mm-hmm.
and to beget children. So he married, was quiet, and took part of this life.
Mm-hmm.
But Alchemists, perceiving the love that was betwixt them, and considering the covenants that were made, came to Demetrius and told him that Nicanor was not well affected toward the state, for that he had ordained Judas a traitor to his realm, to be the king's successor.
Right. So now this dude, he they had this. You remember the meeting that they had?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the meeting that they had, even though Nicanor wasn't our people, they had great respect for one another. You see what I'm saying? That's what you see in here. So now Alchemist, you remember the traitor against his people that wanted the high priest. So he go to Demetrius and he tells Demetrius, listen, Nicanor, who you sent, he a little bit too chummy with Judas Maccabees and Mattathias and Posidonius. He homies with them. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's trying to tell Demetrius. So go ahead, read.
Then the king, being in a rage, and provoked with the accusations of the most wicked man,
because he's saying that Judas is wicked. You see what I'm saying? So he mad as hell of the accusations that Alchemist is coming to him about Nicanor being homies with Judas Maccabees and Mattathias. Go ahead, read.
wrote to Nicanor, signifying that he was much displeased with the covenants, and commanding him that he should send Maccabees prisoner in all haste unto Antioch.
Right. So Antioch is, if you look at the map, it's just above Jerusalem. Okay, going into Greece. So he said that he was displeased with his what he was hearing, with this covenant that you had with Mattathias and Judas, that you need to take him and put him in prison. Right? You see that? Mm-hmm. Go ahead, read.
When this came to Nicanor's hearing, he was much confounded in himself. And
so he like, what in the hell are they talking about? You see what I'm saying? Go ahead, read.
and took it grievously,
He was mad. Go ahead.
that he should make void the articles which were agreed upon, the man being in no fault.
So what he's saying is, he's saying first he's trying to figure out who told him this, and set it up, making it look like it's a this is some like inside job type thing, right? Now he's saying, I made a covenant with these people. You know what I'm saying? So he's showing you that he's supposedly a man of his word. You see what I'm saying? I'm not going to tell you I'm going to do something and then turn around and do something different. You see what I'm saying? That's what he's saying. But go ahead, read.
But because there was no dealing against the king, he watched his time to accomplish this thing by policy. Notwithstanding, when Maccabees saw that Nicanor began to be churlish unto him,
So he was being standoffish, kind of mean now. He's flipping the role because now Nicanor afraid of the king. You see what I'm saying? Read.
and that he entreated him more roughly than he was wont, perceiving that such sour behavior came not of good, he gathered together not a few of his men and withdrew himself from Nicanor.
So Judas Maccabees seeing what this is all about, right? He's seeing how this thing is going down. And listen, this dude done flip mode on us. You know what I'm saying? So let's get our people and roll up out of here. Go ahead, read.
But the other, knowing that he was notably prevented by Judas, policy came into the great and holy temple and commanded the priests that were offering their usual sacrifices to deliver him the man.
Right. So now they came to the temple. You see, they came to the temple and they demanded that they hand over Judas Maccabees. This is what Nicanor did. You see what I'm saying? Now dig this what he did. Go ahead, read.
And when they swear that they could not tell where the man was whom he sought.
So they wouldn't tell him where he was. You understand? Go ahead, read.
He stretched out his right hand toward the temple and
Now,
made...
pay attention to what he did. Read that again.
He stretched out his right hand toward the temple and made an oath in this manner. If ye will not deliver me Judas as a prisoner, I will lay this temple of God even with the ground. And I will break down the altar and erect a notable temple unto Bacchus.
Bacchus. So Nicanor took his right arm, his hand, like this. He pointed at the temple. He pointed at the temple like this. And he said, if you don't tell me what Judas Maccabees is, I'm going to tear this temple down even with the ground. So what he's saying, he's going to level the temple to the ground. He's going to break up the altar. And then he's going to set up a new altar onto Bacchus. You know all them West Indians, when they go back home and do they parades that they do, Bacchanal and all of that. You know that's what this is. This is what Bacchanal is.
Oh, wow.
Bacchus. When he's talking about Bacchus, when they go out there and do them carnivals that they do with all the thing on their head, yeah, that's what they're doing. That's what they going to celebrate Bacchanal, which is Bacchus that he's talking about. That's where that whole festival come from.
Wow.
That's why you see them when they be all dressed up. They don't be looking like our people. They be looking like them East Indians when they had their parades and stuff like that. That's what they celebrate.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So to show you the history. The people, like over in Jamaica and all of that, they had the Maroons and all of that, those people. These are the same people. These are the same Jews. And they brought that custom with them when they came over here.
Wow.
That's why the book of the Maccabees is illegal in England and in Jamaica. All them Caribbean islands where Britain owns, the book of the Maccabees is illegal in those places. You can't have them.
Wow.
When, the jump off subject real quick, when IUIC, Israel United in Christ, went to England right? They had just regular Bibles like this. You see what I'm saying? They had the regular Bible like this. The Apocrypha was in the Bible, right? So when they checked them, they just saw the regular Bible. They didn't know that the Maccabees was in there. Had they known that, they would have made them throw those Bibles out. Dead up.
Wow.
These books is banned in the Caribbeans right now to this day. Why? Because this history. This history lead back to showing them who they are. You see what I'm saying? So while they was celebrating Buckus, which is back and now, you understand what I'm saying? That's where it came from. So go ahead. So now this dude said he stretch out his hand, but I want you to remember that. That's important. Remember that, what he did, right? Go ahead, read.
After these words, he departed. Then the priests lifted up their hands toward heaven and besought him that was ever a defender of their nation.
So the ever the defender of the nation is who? The Most High. He's the defender of the nation. So then they went to the Lord. This dude came in there and said with his right hand stuck out that he was going to he's going to bust the temple down level with the ground. You know what I'm saying? And then he's going to break the altar and set up his own altar onto Bacchus. Go ahead, read.
Thou, O Lord of all things, who has need of nothing, wast pleased that the temple of thine habitation should be among us.
So stop right there. Now, you remember when I was talking about the Feast of Dedication, right? And what the Feast of Dedication is about. Okay, so this is before the Feast of Dedication. What we reading now. They had already, the Feast of Dedication is about the fact that we whipped off in the Greeks behind. We rebuilt the temple and put it back in order. Now, these cats came and was trying to tear it down again. You see what I'm saying? So it's saying here when they're talking about the priests, is saying that in verse 33, thou, O Lord of all things, who has need of nothing, was pleased that the temple of thy habitation should be among us. The fact that we was fighting them, build the temple back, and dedicate it back to the Lord. That's how we got the Feast of Dedication, which is Hanukkah. That's what it's about. So now you're going to come and try to tear down what we dedicated back to the Most High. Right? Read.
Therefore now, O holy Lord of all holiness, keep this house ever undefiled.
So now they praying to the Lord to keep the house undefiled. Read.
Which lately was cleansed, and stop every unrighteous mouth.
So that's what the dedication is all about. You see how it all tying in? Go ahead, read.
Now was there accused of Nicanor, one Raises, one of the elders of Jerusalem, a lover of his countrymen, and a man of very good report, who for his kindness was called a father of the Jews.
So it's talking about Judas Maccabees. Go ahead.
For in the former times, when they mingled not themselves with the Gentiles, he had been accused of Judaism, and did boldly jeopard his body.
Jeopard
his body and life with a vehemency for a religion of the Jews.
So start right there. Read verse 39.
So Nicanor, willing to declare the hate that he bare unto the Jews, sent about 500 men of war to take them.
To take Judas Maccabees and his brothers. So that's what they was coming to do. That was the whole plan, right? So now I want you to go to chapter 15, and I want you to start at verse 1. Now remember, like I said, It's very important to remember in 2 Maccabees chapter 14, verse 33, when he raised his hand and did what he did. Okay? Now, let's read chapter 15.
But Nicanor, hearing that Judas and his company were in the strong places about Samaria.
Now, Samaria is where Ephraim presided, the tribe of Ephraim. Samaria is the capital. Go ahead, read.
Resolved without any danger to set upon them on the Sabbath day. Nevertheless, the Jews that were compelled to go with him said, O destroy not so cruelly and barbarously, but give honor to that day, which he that seeth all things hath honored the holy with holiness above all other days. Then the most ungracious wretch demanded, if there were a mighty one in heaven that had commanded the Sabbath day to be kept. And when they said, there is in heaven a living Lord and mighty, who commanded the seventh day to be kept. Then said the other, and I also am mighty upon earth, and I command to take arms, and to do the king's business. Yet he obtained not to have his wicked will done. So Nicanor, in exceeding pride and haughtiness, determined to set up a public monument of his victory over Judas and them that were with him.
Right. So they figured they did something when they did what they did. Go ahead, read.
But Maccabees had ever sure confidence that the Lord would help him.
So Maccabees knew could feel the Lord is going to help us. Stop this man for what he was doing. Go ahead, read.
Wherefore he exhorted his people not to fear the coming of the heathen against them, but to remember the help which in former times they had received from heaven, and now to expect the victory and aid which should come unto them from the Almighty.
So stop right there. Now, one thing I'm going to hit on real quick. Now, right here in verse 8 where you said, wherefore he exhorted his people not to fear the coming of the heathen. So it's showing you that Nicanor wasn't our people. You understand? Now, what people get it confused at during Alexander's time, right? That's why I say you need to watch that movie called Alexander the Great. When he conquered Babylon, right, which were those Persian people, right, or those East Indians. When he conquered that place, the Greeks would mix their culture with the culture of the people that they conquered, right, and let whatever things that they was doing continue to go on. And then those people, gracious to him not just putting them up behind all the death, will fight with him and join, armies with them. You see what I'm saying? The same thing Xerxes did. He'll conquer the people and then he'll bring the army, with them. Whatever people he conquered, they now become part of his army. Okay, this is what they was doing here. So you know that Nicanor was a heathen. Nicanor was an Edomite. Okay, go ahead, read.
And now to expect the victory and aid which should come unto them from the Almighty, and so comforting them out of the law and the prophets, and withal putting them in mind of the battles that they won afore, he made them more cheerful.
So stop right there. So now Judas and his brethren, are comforting our people, the believers of our people, with the law. Right? That's number one. And not only that, also bringing forth all the things that happened aforetime that was written for our learning, like Romans 15:1 say. He's showing them that even back then, the Most High came to our aid. What make you think he ain't going to come to our aid now? So now the people getting excited and happy because they know who they are. You see what I'm saying? Hold on, a little difficulties here. Let's finish. Sorry about that. Yeah, a little bit of technical difficulties over here. So let's go back to where we were. In chapter 15, we was down at verse
10.
9, right?
You just finished now.
All right. Read 9 again.
And so comforting them out of the law and the prophets, and withal putting them in mind of the battles that they won afore, he made them more cheerful. And when he had stirred up their minds, he gave them their charge, shewing them therewithal the falsehood of the heathen and the breach of oaths.
Right. So he's showing that the heathen never meant us no good, right? And then they the breach of oath, meaning the fact that they had made it a covenant. Remember the covenant that they set when they set up the stews, and they all came together and they had a talk, and then Nicanor reneged on what he said he was going to do. That's what he's talking about, the breach, and then they broke it. They broke that covenant. Go ahead, read.
Thus he armed every one of them, not so much with defensive shields and spears, as with comfortable and good words, and besides that, he told them a dream worthy of to believe, as if it had been so indeed, which did not a little rejoice them.
So he came to them with a motivation speech, not arming them with shield and spear. He armed them with encouragement from the Most High Power. You understand? And the reason why they had to fight. You okay? Read.
And this was his vision, that Onias, who had been high priest, a virtuous and good man, reverent in conversation, gentle in condition, well spoken also, and exercised from a child in all points of virtue, holding up his hands, prayed for the whole body of the Jews.
For the whole body of the Jews, of his people, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Read.
This done, in like manner, there appeared a man with gray hairs, and exceeding glorious, who was of a wonderful and excellent majesty. Then Onias answered, saying, This is a lover of the brethren.
This is a lover of the brethren. He didn't give a doggone about his own well-being. He cared about his nation. You understand? That's what we need in Israel. We need brothers and sisters that care about the nation of their people. When you got these brothers out here and they out here battling with these with our own people, let alone the heathen, but with our own people, don't add to their yoke. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Don't add to their yoke. Because they are a lover of their people. That's very important for you to understand. This is way beyond, your marriage, well beyond your children, well beyond your mama and your daddy. We talking about a nation of a people. If you worried about your own little personal thing that you got going on, you know what I'm saying, the people fall. You got to encourage him to stand for his people too. Because guess who all wins when he's standing for his people? All the people that you care about. They all benefit. You got to sacrifice your little bit of whatever you got going on to back him so that he can do what he got to do for his people. Stop being so goddamn selfish. That's what I'm telling you. And stand for your people. In all. Read.
Then Onias answered, saying, This is a lover of the brethren, who prayeth much for the people, and for the holy city, to wit, Jeremiah, the prophet of God.
You talking about Jeremiah? Read.
Whereupon Jeremiah, holding forth his right hand, gave to Judas a sword of gold, and in giving it spake thus.
So stop right there. One thing I want to bring out right here. Right here is saying, You see how Jeremiah is spelled, right? And then you see throughout the other brothers that speak about Jeremiah, they spell it a different way. You see what I'm saying? And they may pronounce it a different way. You understand? That's the same thing we talk about these names that y'all keep talking about. Christ, Jesus, Yeshua, the Yahushua. They all the same man. They all spell different. They all pronounce different, but it's talking about the same man. Stop this crazy doctrine about the name and what the Most High name is. That's a bunch of foolishness. We got bigger things to deal with in this nation to be fighting over some dumbness like that. Read, brother.
Take this holy sword, a gift from God, with the which thou shalt wound the adversary.
So stop right there. So when he tell him to take this holy sword, the Lord giving him the power, the courage to be able to stand up against our adversaries. Not only the heathen, but them wicked Israelites that put us in the position that we're in the first place. They bust their behind too. Read.
Thus being well comforted by the words of Judas, which were very good and able to stir them up to valor.
Valor. The
valor
is like honor.
To valor and to encourage the hearts of the young men. They determined not to pitch camp, but courageously to set upon them and manfully to try the matter by conflict.
So now they say they ain't going to pitch no camp. Now you got to remember, some of these brothers that Judas is talking to is some of the brothers that rolled out with alchemists. But when he encouraged them and showed them that this is bigger than this sucker that y'all just put here on the throne. This is about our whole nation. Y'all got to pull your head out of your 4-point of contact and know that this is about us. Not about no one person, not about who you love or whatever the case may be. This is about the nation. This is all that matters. We get the nation in order, then everything else will fall in order. Stop being in a rush. Hurry up and wait. Read.
Because the city and the sanctuary and the temple were in danger. For the care that they took for their wives and their children, their brethren and folks, was in least account with them.
What they were?
In least account.
The least account, meaning that they're not worried about this. They're not worried about mom and daddy, wife and children. That was the least of their worries. The nation was the most important part of their worries. Read.
But the greatest and principal fear was for the holy temple.
You know why this is going to always be a problem in marriages, even with women and men in the truth? You know why this is going to, and with children and mothers and fathers, that even the ones that's in the truth and even the ones that's not in the truth. You know why this is such a problem? Because they can't fathom in their mind that the Most High in the nation of Israel is before all of that. They cannot get that through their head. They think that they first, then God, then Israel. You see what I'm saying? But yet they tell you out of their mouth, God, the nation, and then their family. But that ain't what they doing. They doing themselves first. Then they doing the Most High. Then they doing their nation. You see what I'm saying? God ain't never first in their agenda. They saying it out of their mouth, but they ain't doing it with their heart, which is their mind. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Read.
Also, they that were in the city took not the least care, being troubled for the conflict abroad.
So they weren't worried about what was coming, because they know they was coming up against a mighty enemy. But why would you be scared? You know you got the Most High on your side.
That's right.
Read.
And now, when as all looked that should be the trial, and the enemies were already come near, and the army was set in array, and the beasts conveniently placed.
So stop right there. So the beast that is talking about these big elephants. They see these big giant elephants out there. Mm-hmm. And they see the enemy out there. All that's supposed to intimidate us. But you know what? We the Israelites. And not only are we the Israelites, we the set out of the Israelites called the Jews. The majority of who are all Negroes. You see what I'm saying? We ready to fight. I don't care if you could. Them elephants is like tanks out there to us today. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So if this was going on right now, it'd be this little bit of Israelites that you see against this great big army with tanks, all kind of artillery out there that they got. Mm-hmm. And we standing bold. Well, maybe just a sword or whatever the case may be we got. We standing bold. You know why? Because we know we got the Most High. And this a fixed fight and we're going to bust that behind. Mm-hmm. Read.
And the horsemen set in wings. Maccabees, seeing the coming of the multitude and the divers preparations of armor and the fierceness of the beast, stretched out his hands toward heaven and called upon the Lord that worketh wonders, knowing the victory cometh not by arms, but even as it seemeth good to him, he giveth it to such as are worthy. Therefore in his prayers he said after this manner, O Lord, thou didst send thine angel in the time of Ezekiel, king of Judea.
That's Ezekiel. All right, you know, this right here is touching me. And the reason why it's touching me is because, number one, the prophet Judas Maccabees, as he's praying to the Lord, he's showing you what he said to the Lord. Now, what did we say about Romans 15 and 1? The things are written aforetime was written for our learning. We coming up against our enemies. He's showing us what we got to do to pray for the Lord to come down and help us. We was doing everything but backwards. Mm-hmm. Now he's showing us the blueprint of what we got to do. So go ahead, read 22 again.
Therefore in his prayer he said after this manner, O Lord, thou didst send thine angel in the time of Ezekiel, king of Judea, and didst slay in the host of Sennacherib, mm-hmm. and 185,000.
So 185,000 people, the angel of the Lord, they gave the power to Ezekiel. And our people slew 185,000 of this Sennacherib. Right? Read.
Wherefore, now also, O Lord in heaven, send a good angel before us for fear and dread unto them.
So stop right there. Now, this history that Judas is speaking of, Judas wasn't alive when this took place. He knew about it because it was told from his ancestors to him. Mm-hmm. It's now we reading by our ancestors and what he did. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? And he prayed to the Lord and he asked, just like you did and send those angels for Ezekiel, do that for us, Lord. I'm telling you, people. I'm telling you. This is the power that we have. You better start learning how to use it. I ain't talking about calling on the Lord for some new damn 24s on your car. I'm talking about calling for the Lord for this oppression that we're going through. Read.
And through the might of thine arm, let those be stricken with terror that come against thy holy people in blasphemy. And he ended thus. Then Nicanor and they that were with him came forward with trumpets and songs.
So now they marching. They come with the trumpets so that you know that it's loud because there's so many of them. You understand? And they singing the cadence. Read.
But Judas and his company encountered the enemies with invocation and prayer.
So start right there. trying to think. What was that movie? Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings. I don't know if y'all seen Lord of the Rings, but the one that was called the Return of the King. All right, watch that. You get a chance. If some of y'all saw it, watch it again. In the Lord of the Rings, because what we reading right now is where they got that scene from in the Lord of the Rings. When they had when you seen those people that look like Indian people that was on the elephants with the big barbed wire between the elephants' tusks and all of that, and they was blowing the trumpets, and then you heard them chanting. They was chanting something. They was ho la ho like that, and it was real loud. And the king's people was very little. And here they up against these big giant elephants, and the people that looked real fierce that was with them. And this is what we coming up against. That whole scene that you see in that movie is what we reading right here in the Bible. That they mix. This is real history. So when you get a chance, go look at Lord of the Rings, The Return of the Kings. You'll see with them big elephants out there where all the different armies came together. Read.
But Judas and his company encountered the enemies with invocation and prayer, so that the fighting with their hands and praying unto God with their hearts, they slew no less than 30 and 5,000 men.
They killed how many?
30 and 5,000 men.
35,000 men. They tore out the frame. Read.
For through the appearance of God, they were greatly cheered.
Read.
Now when the battle was done, returning again with joy, they knew that Nicanor lay dead in his harness.
So they killed that sucker. Leaning over in that horse. They tore us behind out the frame. Now go ahead and read. Now you're about to get excited, brother.
Then they made a great shout and a noise, praising the Almighty in their own language.
Mm-hmm.
And Judas, who was ever
when
the
they
chief
say,
defender.
Hold right there. When they say they praising the Lord in their own language, right? A lot of these were Greek-speaking Jews, so they only spoke Greek. You understand? Mm-hmm. So they praising the Lord in the Greek language, the same way we praise the Lord in the English language. Mm-hmm. So all these people running around here talking about you got to know the Hebrew, when that ain't even the truth. To know the Hebrew, it's okay to learn it. I'm not knocking you for doing that. But if our ancestors spoke to the Lord in the language that they only knew, why we can't speak to the Lord in the language that we know, and you find fault with that? Because the way you learn the scriptures is in the language you know, right?
Right.
You didn't learn even know Hebrew. Your behind sure ain't come out your mama speaking no Kwam Yasharala. The hell is this? Read.
And Judas, who was ever the chief defender of the citizen, both in body and mind, and who continued his love toward his countrymen all his life, commanded to strike off Nicanor's head.
Do what?
Strike off Nicanor's head.
Uh-huh.
And his hand with his shoulder.
What he told him to do?
Strike off Nicanor's head and his hand with his shoulder.
Why you think he told him to do that? Why you think he told him to do that? You remember I told y'all to remember in chapter 14?
When he put his hand up.
When he put his hand up and pointed at the temple and said that he's going to level it with the ground? The Most High said, chop his damn arm off from the shoulder all the way to the finger point. Read.
And bring them to Jerusalem.
And bring him to Jerusalem. His head and his whole shoulder with the arm, with the finger pointing. The right arm. Read.
So when he was there and called them of his nation together and set the priests before the altar, he sent from them that were of the tower.
So the ones that he came up to and said that if you don't go get Judas, Maccabees, I'm going to tear this temple down and level it with the ground. He said that out of his mouth, pointing with his finger. That's why he chopped off his head and chopped off his arm with the shoulder, the whole shoulder. The Lord wanted all of that thing. You know what I'm saying? Read.
and shew them vile, Nicanor's head and the hand of the blasphemer, which proud brags he had stretched out against the holy temple of the Almighty. And we had cut out the tongue.
He did what?
He cut out the tongue.
Cut out his tongue. Read.
Of that ungodly Nicanor.
Uh-huh.
He commanded that they should give it by pieces unto the fowls.
That he should do what? Cut up his tongue and do what?
Give it to pieces unto the fowls.
Let the birds eat his tongue. Read.
And hang up the reward of his madness before the temple.
Hang up his reward of the madness, or hang his head before the temple. That's what they did. So when you walk into Jerusalem and you saw the temple, you saw that sucker head first. You're going to speak against the Lord, the Most High Power, our God. This is what we do. This is how we get down. Off with your head. We're going to feed your tongue to the birds, and we're going to chop your arm off from the shoulder. Read.
So every man prays toward the heaven and glorious Lord, saying, Blessed be he that hath kept his own place undefiled.
Kept his own place undefiled, because he couldn't tear down the temple with his head chopped off and his arm chopped off that he pointed with. Read.
He hanged also Nicanor's head upon the tower, an evidence and manifest sign unto all of the help of the Lord.
Uh-huh.
And they ordained all with a common decree, in no case to let that day pass without solemnity.
Solemnity, meaning, which means like anniversary. Make it holy. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's what it's saying. Let this day be holy. Read.
But to celebrate the 30th day.
Read that again.
The 13th day, sorry. Celebrate the 13th day of the 12th month.
Of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar, which is February. So the 13th day of the 12th month, which is Adar, which is February, is how we get this. You understand? That's why we celebrate the Purim. So when you start the beginning of the month, you count the 12. Don't think about, because February start on February the 1st, we in the month of Adar, you count 13 days from there. No, you count 13 days from the new moon, right? The new moon is whatever day the new moon came. Let me see what the new moon what day it was for February.
15.
The 15th?
Yeah.
All right. 13 days from there, the 28th, which is when the Nicanor is, which is in 4 days. So don't get confused when the scriptures say the 13th day, you starting from the first. The new moon was on the 15th. You count 13 days from there. That gives you the day of the Nicanor. All praises to the Most High for that thing.
All praises.
Go ahead, read. 36. Go ahead. Just read the whole verse again.
And they ordained all with a common decree, in no case to let that day pass without solemnity, but to celebrate the 13th day of the 12th month, which in the Syrian tongue is called Adar, the day before Mardoshus' day. Mm-hmm. Thus went it with Nicanor, and from the time forth the Hebrews had the city in their power, mm-hmm. and here will I make an end. Mm-hmm. And if I have done well, and as it fitted the story, it is that which I desire.
Go ahead.
But in slenderly and meanly, it is that which I could attain unto. For as it is hurtful to drink wine or water alone, and as wine mingled with water is pleasant, and delighteth the taste, even so speech finely framed delighteth the ears of them that read the story, and here shall be an end.
That's right. Because when you hear this, Not only does it encourage you to fight, because this is what made those slaves raise up in Montenegro, in Montego, and Jamaica and all of that. This is what made them raise up, because when they read this history, number one, they knew it was them, and number two, they raised up against the Edomites. With the Lord's help, they prayed to the Lord, and guess what? They whipped off in their behind, man. They whipped off in that behind. I'm telling you, people, everything that's written was written for our learning. Stop running around here thinking you know what you're doing, because you don't. We got some of our brothers out here that's military trained. And one thing I could tell you, because Esau was given the blessing of warfare. They know what they're doing when it comes to fighting. That's what I'm telling you. So when it comes to us and we had that training, you teach your other brothers that training, because it ain't the training of with the weapons that we concerned with. It's the discipline that come with how to use those weapons. The discipline that comes with following orders. That discipline is what is going to make us victorious, because that's how we're able to listen to what the Most High is saying and keep his commandments. That's why you have to understand is this ain't no just a spiritual fight. We physically now not have to pick up arms, but you have to discipline yourself to keep God's laws. Because when we call upon the Lord, you best believe he's coming. And we standing up for a righteous cause, you best believe he's coming. Could you imagine what happened in Ferguson? If they were all, being that they were all Israelites, and we prayed the same way that Judas Maccabees prayed, the outcome of Ferguson would have been different. Same thing with the church bombing in Alabama. The outcome would have been different. Us going across that bridge, that outcome would have been different. Our people out there blocking the interstate and all that kind of stuff like that in protest, the outcome would have been different if you put God in your life first. Let him fight our battles. Stop worrying about your wife and your children and your mama and your daddy and your friends. The Most High in this nation come first. And until you realize that, we're never going to get on top. That's why the Most High had already ordained. Understand what that means. Already ordained, already prophesied. That means it's going to happen. Regardless you believe or not, 2/3 of you Negroes are going to get put to death. Going to get put to death. All because you hard-headed. You got women running around here that cover their head because they don't want to get their hair wet, or their new hairstyle, or whatever the case may be. You won't cover your head for the Lord, but you cover your head for so you don't get it wet. You see what I'm saying? The Lord said that he wants us to do certain things a certain kind of way. And you won't do it. Your boss tell you he wants something done a certain kind of way. You break your damn neck to do it. Because you don't see the Lord and you ain't really witness his power and the drama that he's bringing in your life, you really ain't paying that no mind. You're not equating that with judgment. You see what I'm saying? That's what it is. Until he afflicts you so bad, you ain't going to have no choice but to turn to him. And I'll tell you right now, he's going to tear you out of the frame. He's going to tear you out of the frame. And don't think that a righteous brother or sister Don't come to them talking about pray for you. But I wish they would pray for you. I'll bust them upside my head myself. The scriptures say in Proverbs 28:9. Let's get that real quick, so we can go ahead and shut down the class. We ain't gonna have time to do parenting. We'll do it, Lord's will, next week. Proverbs 28 and read verse 9.
He that turneth away his ear from hearing the law.
He that do what?
Turn away his ear from hearing the law.
So you don't want to hear God's laws, right? But you gonna tell me to pray for you and you ain't keeping no laws. Read.
Even his prayers shall be an abomination.
So who's gonna be abominated? The person that you know you keeping God's laws, but you gonna pray for somebody that don't? What sense does that make?
Not at all.
The Lord hear that thing. Guess what he's saying? It's making him throw up. That's what abomination is. Making him sick to his stomach. I can't believe you just prayed for this wicked Israelite. For me to help them, and they won't do nothing I ask them to do. Ain't trying to hear nothing I'm saying, and you gonna pray for them? Is you crazy? And you wonder why something crazy happened to us. Because we pulling some dumb crap like this. But because the Lord don't do something to them right then, that's what make them don't believe. So we're going to show them to believe. Let's get Sirach real quick. Go to Sirach chapter 6. Ecclesiasticus chapter 6. I want you to read verse chapter 5. I want you to go to chapter 5, and I want you to read start from verse 1. Start from verse 1. Read down to verse 7.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 5 verse 1. Set thy heart upon thy goods.
No, say that again.
Set thy heart.
You
said chapter 5, right?
Yeah.
Verse 1.
Uh-huh.
Right there.
That's wrong. Set not thy heart. That's what it says. Thy is not there in that one.
Set not.
Yeah. Set not thy heart.
Set not thy heart upon thy goods.
So don't set your heart upon the good. Go ahead, read.
And say not, I have enough for my life.
So this is what the scripture is saying. When it says set not thy heart upon thy goods. Meaning, number one, you think because you treat somebody nice and you out here being a good person, a good Samaritan, or whatever you want to call it, that you did something. You ain't keeping these commandments, you ain't did a damn thing. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you help some old lady cross the street. You see what I'm saying? I don't care if you pull somebody from a burning house. None of that matters to the Lord at all. You see what I'm saying? Read.
I have enough for my life.
Mm-hmm.
Follow not thine own mind and thy strength to walk in the ways of thy heart.
That's right. Don't follow your own mind thinking you doing something right. You doing something good. So that this is good for the Lord. No, sir. Read.
And say not, who shall control me for my works?
Who gonna control me for my... Because you don't believe the Most High power. That's why you would say that. Read.
For the Lord will surely revenge thy pride.
Ooh. He gonna do what?
Surely revenge thy pride.
Gonna bust your behind. Read.
Oh, shit, I messed up. What was it, Ecclesiastes? 5 verse 1.
14. I mean, you're at 4 now.
Say not, I have sinned, and what harm hath happened unto me.
So now you know that you sinned, and you saying to yourself, what harm came to me? I sinned today, and ain't nothing happened. Read.
For the Lord is long-suffering, he will in no wise let thee go.
He said the Lord is long-suffering. So what this mean? This ain't about people out there sinning right? And don't know that they're actually sinning. We talking about people that know that you sinning. You willfully sinning. And you saying, what harm come to me? Said the Lord said he long suffering. Me, he going to put up with your crap for a season, right? But he said, in no wise, he going to let you go. He going to get you. That's what he telling you. He going to get you. Read.
Concerning propitiation, be not without fear to add sin unto sin.
That be without fear, adding sin unto sin. So because he ain't do nothing this time, you're going to go ahead and do another sin. You see what I'm saying? And you're going to do another sin. You emboldened now. The Lord ain't going to do nothing to me. So I'm going to keep on doing what I want to do. Read.
And say not, his mercy is great. He will be pacified for the multitude of my sins. For mercy and wrath come from him.
So he's saying that his mercy, he ain't worried about those sin, that you doing, because he merciful. Oh, the Lord ain't going to do nothing to me. Read.
And his indignation resetteth upon sinners.
Right. His indignation rests upon sinners. Right? Meaning his payback rests upon those that sin and think that the Lord ain't going to do nothing. But go ahead, read verse 7.
Make no tarrying to turn to the Lord.
Meaning you better hurry up and turn to him. Read.
And put not off from day to day.
Because you figure that, I could do it tomorrow. I'll repent tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever the case may be. Read.
For suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come forth.
For suddenly, meaning that you could be fixing your coffee, ready to go out to work, and the Lord show up. Now what you going to do? Read.
And in thy security thou shalt be destroyed.
Because you were so thinking in your mind that, the Lord ain't did nothing to me today, ain't nothing going to happen. You understand? Read.
And perish in the day of vengeance.
And perish in the day of vengeance. That's why I told you can't be worried about your family and none of that crap. Your wife and your kids and your mama and your daddy, your homeboys, your homegirls, all that kind of thing. And I don't even give a damn. The dog don't want to keep God's laws. He gone too. I'm telling you what you got to do. Keep thinking, because the Lord ain't do nothing to you yet, that he ain't going to get you. Because see, you don't realize you can sin. Then the next day, you lose your damn job. You know what I'm saying? But you don't think that you lost your job. You thought you lost your job because of some other thing. No, you willfully sinned. It's why you lost your job. Not only that, something could happen to somebody in your family. Your kid could get hurt real bad or whatever the case may be. That's because you willfully sinned. You know what I'm saying? Your car could break. And you ain't got the money to fix it. That's because you willfully sin. All of these things, they judgments. And the Lord stringing them along and stacking them with the hopes that you pull your head out of the 4 point of your contact, which is your behind, and you come back to him. But the longer that you keep saying it ain't him, the more affliction you're going to go through until he kill your behind. That's the bottom line. And with that, class, I say shalom.
Shalom.
Most High Christ bless.
Most High Christ bless.
And welcome to another Israel Evolves class. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.